Hi, this is Paul from Outerloop Coaching and outerloopcoaching.com. I'm here this week to talk about the top 5 things every new band must do. Whether you've existed for 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years, you have to be doing this, but it's especially important at the very, very early stages of your career. Now, number five is something that I wish everybody knew and almost nobody does. So I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're gonna have this. Check this out. Okay, before I really roll into this, make sure you like the video, make sure that you subscribe, make sure you hit the little bell, and that way you'll get an alert every time we put out a new video. And hey, if you've been doing this for a little while, put a comment down below. What's one piece of advice you would give to a new band? All right, so let's get started. Number 1, set goals and have a plan for how you are going to achieve them. Now, don't just have these goals in your head. Make sure you share them with other people in the band so that everybody else is on the same page. So that if your goals perhaps are bigger than somebody else in the band, when you put it out there, you put it out and you say what your goals are, they may go, yeah, that sounds good. Let's do that. Rather than being content midway through what ends up being your journey alone. If you can do this as a full unit, if you can make the whole journey together, that is what's going to be just the most rewarding and will be the most efficient way to get to your goals, when you can do it as a collective, right? And everybody's playing to their strengths. But that won't happen if everybody isn't on the same page right from the beginning. So let's say that one of your goals is that you want to sell out an arena, right? I want to sell out an arena at some point. That's the goal. That's when I know I've made it, right? So if that's your goal, what is something that happens about halfway to that goal, right? Maybe it's selling out a theater, right? Like 800,000 people, 1,200 people, something like that. I want to sell out a theater. That's halfway to the goal of selling out the arena. So you set that goal, that's part of that journey, right? And what's halfway between where you are now and selling out a theater? Well, maybe it's selling out a club, like a 300, 250, 400 people type of club. All right, that's the goal. That's the goal that's on the journey, right? What's halfway between where you are now and selling out that club? And so on and so forth. You want to have all those goals laid out because all of them are a journey to get to that ultimate goal, whatever it might be. It could be, we just want to put out an album. We just want to have fun for the next 2 years. We just want to, win a Grammy. Like, whatever the goal is, set it. Say it out loud. Hell, write it up on a jam room wall if you want. But make sure that everybody in your band's on the same page. All right, second thing, you need an agreement with everybody in the band as to how songwriting credits and the money is going to be distributed, right? And it's kind of 2 parts. Now, I've got a video that is very specific about strategies on how to have a band agreement on the songwriting credits and the publishing, and their link is right over my head. Maybe it's here, maybe it's there, right? On how to do that. So I'm not going to go too much into that now. But the money, you want to make sure everybody knows, hey, if we get paid, let's say $200 for a show, we're going to put it all towards recording. We're going to put it all towards buying merch, or we're going to put half towards buying merch and half towards recording, or we're going to distribute half to everybody, or we're just going to put it all in our pockets. Whatever it is, right? Just make sure everybody's in agreement. Hey, just everybody know, you're responsible for buying your own drums and your own sticks, and you're responsible for your own strings. Whatever that is, have an agreement ahead of time so that everybody knows. You don't want anybody going, hey, we just did a show out of town and I was driving and we got pulled over because we were in a hurry to get to the gig, and I got the ticket for speeding. Like, is the band paying for that? Is the driver paying for that? Have an agreement ahead of time. Make sure all that sort of stuff is laid out so that nobody gets upset. Money is what gets everybody upset. It's the most impossible thing for most of us to talk about. You just have to put it out there. All right, number 3, let your band members take ownership of different responsibilities for the band. And this is the behind the scenes stuff. There's the social media, accounting, merchandise, fixing the van, all that sort of stuff that goes on behind the scenes. Make sure that everybody in the band is able to take ownership of at least one thing. Let it be something that they're either interested in or they're really good at. Have them spend their time thinking about that. Have them, of course, thinking about how they're going to perform better, how they're going to write better songs. All that stuff is important. But if you've got one person who's just in charge of social media, they're the one who's going to be, on the way to their job, listening to a podcast on things that they can do to be better at social media. They'll be thinking about, how am I going to do this on Instagram? How am I going to be active on Facebook every day? Should we tweet? Should we not tweet? All that stuff. Have one person in charge of each of these things so that they are able to spend their time thinking about it and getting it done. And by owning it, they are going to feel more driven to be good at it. Now, of course, everybody needs to be accountable to each other. And you want to hear from everybody. Hey, how's it going with the accounting? How's it going with this? How's it going with that? Everybody needs to be accountable to each other, and you want to keep people driven and make sure that everybody's on the same page as to how all of these things are going to be done. But having somebody, you know what? No, this is my thing, man. I own this. That is going to help move things forward so much better. And it makes it so that every time something needs to get done, it doesn't get slowed down by a committee discussion on how it needs to get done. If you've got one person, they're just in charge of it, you don't have to think about it other than making sure it has gotten done. That's awesome. So number 3, let your band members own a part of the background, the business of being a band. Number 4, corny. Number 4 is so corny. Number 4 is like a freaking Hallmark card, and I apologize in advance. But man, you got to do it. Find joy in the journey. And why the word joy? No other reason really other than joy is in the word journey when you take out a U-R-N and E, right? It's corny as all hell. I know it. But it's freaking true. Being in a band is going to be some of the best times of your life. It's going to be some of the times that you will never forget. You're going to have experiences and stories that you're going to want to share with people for the rest of your life. Now, if someday you stop being a musician and instead you find yourself at a dinner party or some little kid's birthday party or alone at a bar, you're going to turn to somebody and you're going to tell them something about what's happened as you've had this experience of being a independent musician, and you're going to blow their minds with some of the best stuff. So as you're in it, know that you are needing to be present at these times and looking out constantly, even when you're stressed, even when you're frustrated, even when things seem dark and, oh man, it's not going to happen for me. I'm not going to make my goals. Be sure that you're still paying attention to all the fun stuff, to the joy in this journey, right? And if you commit to yourself to do that now, it will make it easier when it's more difficult later. So number 5, this is the thing that most people don't even pay any attention to, but it is so important. I was reminded of this recently. Number 5 is be patient. Be patient with your bandmates. Be patient with yourself. Be patient with your goals. Be patient with your career. This might take a while, and you should be okay with that, especially as you're finding joy in the journey, right? But be patient. I was reminded of this recently just because I was watching an interview and live performance from a band called Snow Patrol. You may be familiar with them. They had a huge hit a number of years ago called Chasing Cars. They've had a few other singles that done really, really well. They can tour anywhere in the world. They pull in huge numbers, right? Snow Patrol existed for 10 years before they had any success whatsoever. And they were struggling that entire time. But during that time, they were getting better as musicians, better as songwriters, better as recording artists, better as performers. And by the time the success came to them, they were ready because they had been patient and been able to become better at what they were doing and actually really succeed and be able to compound that success with more great songs, more great stuff that it wasn't a one-hit wonder because they were ready. So be patient with your career. It may take a long time. It may take longer than you think. Be patient, it's okay. And if you commit yourself to being patient now, again, it makes it easier when it gets frustrating later on. We've been doing Outerloop now for a few years, 3 years or so, and as of the recording of this video. And there are musicians, independent musicians, who are with us very early and when we launched Outerloop. And they came when things were really hard and were worried that maybe this isn't going to happen, 12, 15 years in their career, and they're having success now. They're having a success now because they were working at it, because they were patient, and because the work they were doing was really smart and smarter than ever, and making really great choices now. Now they're ready for humongous success because of all that time they've invested. They're humble and driven and when that success happens, they know that it's been earned and they're not going to squander it. And that's going to be huge for the rest of their lives. And so, yeah, hopefully it doesn't take you 10 years. Hopefully it doesn't take 5 years. Hey, I hope your phone rings as soon as you're done watching this video and success happens for you right away. But let's be honest. You need to be patient. So that's it. That's the 5 things. Number 1, set goals and have a plan for achieving them. Number 2, a band agreement on money and publishing. Number 3, let your band members own responsibilities. Number 4 is that Hallmark card, joy in the journey. And number 5, be patient. I'm Paul from Outerloop Coaching. I'll see you next week. And hey, come visit me at outerloopcoaching.com.